Hello and welcome to my review of Doctor Who, the Macra Terror. And yes, this is a missing episode, part of my missing episode and lost stories month on my channel. So without further ado, let's do my usual procedure where I look at the cover and how this sort of audio is presented. Then we will look at my thoughts on this story. So without further ado, let's go and have a look how it's presented. So for the cover we have the BBC Radio Collection sort of logo up there. We have Patrick Troughton as the second Doctor, with a Macra there, and I think we have the colony leader there, I think. Then we have a Macra. Obviously in this story, when you see, telesnaps, the Macra do not look like this. They look a lot worse. They've had a bit of artistic license to make them look a bit more creepy and menacing for the cover to draw us in to go and listen to this. But obviously, because this is on audio, you can obviously imagine them like this, but when you see telesnaps, they don't really look like that. You've got Jamie there, and you've got this nice orangey red sky colour there, with some mist there. Original BBC soundtrack, television soundtrack. Then for the spine we've got science fiction and fantasy, so probably a category what it goes under. Doctor Who, Macra Terror, BBC. And then we have the cover there, and then we have a bit of blurb. And interestingly, this one is narrated by Colin Baker. Obviously, when they started doing the Radio Collection box sets, they remastered this and had new narration by Anneke Wills, I think. But this one's got Colin, which is quite nice to have Colin narrating this. And then we have some bio about the story, so do feel free to pause if you want to know more about this story. And the total running time is 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay, looking at the booklet, so if we open it up, we have information about the programme. So the cast list, when the story was originally broadcast, and a bit more sort of notes there about production notes and all that. Then we have the actual track listings, and then advertisements for other Doctor Who stories in the Radio Collections range. For the disc art, it is exactly the same for both discs, just the cover a bit shrunken down without the controller there on the cover. Okay, the Macra Terror. I've had this weird obsession with the Macra Terror. I've always wanted to see the Macra Terror for some bizarre reason, and I've got to say, I think it's a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine. Now, I've got to say the first two parts really do set the scene, but that's where the plot mostly lies. I think that's where the most of the story happens. The rest of the story is basically Jamie wandering around an abandoned mine with some Macra in it. So for me, the rest of the two parts just seem a bit filler episodes, but the story does have one big redeeming feature, and that is the Macra. You know when you've got a villain what are so bad you just find them good? That is the Macra for me. I just think they're so bad they're hilariously good. I think the concept of them are great, with them having this sort of brainwashing this colony. I think they're great, but the design of them, they're a bit off, but their voices are certainly a highlight. They're just weird voices and quite hilarious. They're just great, really. Now on to actual characters in this. The second Doctor, even though I've listened to this on audio, I can easily picture the second Doctor with him seemingly innocent and not offensive, but as the story progresses, the second Doctor becomes more forceful, and I think that's a great little build up to those moments. Now Fraser Hines gives a good performance, but I do feel like Jamie's a bit redundant in this story. Obviously the early 60s stories, this story wasn't going to have Jamie in it because obviously a last minute decision in the Highlanders to have Jamie as a companion. But there is a nice moment for Jamie, which I think is when Jamie gets caught up in a dance class, which is just nice to see Jamie trying to dance. Obviously I'd love to see that. Obviously I've only listened to it on audio, so it'd be nice to see that, to see Jamie awkwardly doing a dance. Michael Craze, I think that he's fantastic when he's possessed by the Macra, and that's the only thing he really does is when he's possessed by the Macra. Anneke Wills, she gets some nice moments with the second Doctor, but my favourite supporting character in this has to be the person who played Maddock. He's the only character what I feel like has a bit of a story, and we learn more about him as the story progresses. But the rest of the characters I just find a bit one-dimensional. They're just rather generic. I don't really like them. They don't really have much character developed. They just shout, the guards, they're just, the captain of this is just a bit of a shouty man and bossy. So there's not really much character, it's just rather generic for me. But I will say, despite the story having quite bad pacing issues, the cliffhangers are definitely one of the strongest points of a story. The cliffhangers are very good. They all use the Macra in a very good way. So that's the only sort of good thing about it, the cliffhangers and the Macra for me. So overall, I've got to say it still is a guilty pleasure. I still like it for what it is. I think that it's got a really good concept behind it, with this colony being brainwashed by the Macra and all happy, with this nice cheery music going on and lift music. The lift music does get a bit annoying. Well, it's not actual lift music. It's not, well, we're not all in a lift, but the music is what you get in a lift, really, all cheery and stuff. But it's a nice traditional Doctor Who concept, but the characters are one-dimensional. The pacing is just bad. But for me, the Macra make it. They're just so hilariously bad. They just become good for me, and their voices. You know, just listen to this or watch a recon just to experience the Macra, because their voices are definitely a highlight for me. So what am I going to rate this? You might think I've been a bit negative about it, but I'm still going to rate it 6 claws out of 10. I still love it. I want this to be found. This is definitely the weakest story by Ian Stewart Black, but I think if this was found, I think the rating would go up, because I can actually see the Macra and go, oh, they're so bad, I love them. So overall, I'm going to give the Macra Terror 6 claws out of 10. So thank you very much for watching this review, and I'll see you in my next review, whatever that will be.